Hello, you delectable piles of sugared viscera. Jim Sterling here, and this is RiME. This is an indie puzzle game what came out recently, and it's gotten some critical acclaim, and it's pretty good. It's drawn inspiration from Team Ico's selection of games. Now, I'm not the world's biggest fan of those games. Obviously, my impressions of The Last Guardian were not wholly favourable. I wanted to like it very much, but there was a lot getting in the way of that. RiME, I'm actually enjoying more than those games. It's pretty good. I'm not in love with it, but I do like it. It's not great, but it is good. The puzzles are pretty decent, pretty clever. There are some really nice environmental puzzles that they get progressively more and more clever as it goes on. This is the sort of the first area, really, the starting area. So there are a lot of dull block puzzles. I say dull, they're not boring, but they're not particularly inspired. But things do get a little more clever as it goes on. You are this child character here who goes, you know, like a Team Ico game, just makes noise, and you can use that noise to interact with things. You can, basically anything that glows green, including those little fire pits, which I didn't discover until a little bit later. But anything with a green glow to it, if you press the yell button near it, usually interacts with it in some way, in some sort of magical voice-activated way, as we will see with some of the puzzles. I don't want to say I'm super duper far into it yet, but I'm definitely deep enough into it to feel pretty confident in saying I think the rest of the game is on a trajectory to remain pretty consistent in that sort of good but not mind-blowingly brilliant sort of thing. It does have some issues holding it back. Some issues are actually shared with the games that it's drawn its inspiration from, especially controls. That's the big issue here. It's not an especially pleasant game to control. Some of it's a little hard to describe because it's just in how it feels. It's just in the, the tangibility of the thing. It doesn't feel great steering the protagonist around. And that's compounded by some of the physics issues that we saw in The Last Guardian. Sometimes the character doesn't want to grip a ledge. Sometimes the game will want you to step up onto something rather than jump onto it. And it's so rigid in that it will force you to hit a kind of invisible wall and then do the step, which just takes you out of the experience. If you see a ledge that you think you should be able to jump on and you instinctively jump toward it, only to get battered back and told to do it the way the game wants you to do it. It's not an elegant way of doing it. Some games do that thing where they want you to interact with the environment in a very particular way, but this game is so, it will do that, just, no, try again. And there's something very harsh about that. For a game that is trying to build this sort of immersion and this sense of a journey, it's a very, very blatantly video gamey way of doing it. I was talking about this on there's an example. There we see. You see, I see a ledge that high. My instinct is to jump and then maybe do a little grab and a hop. But it wanted me specifically to walk into that ledge so it could trigger its own clambering animation. And that's just very jarring. Another way in which this game is video gamey, and when I say that, I'm not saying that being a video game is bad. What I mean is it's like Thunderbirds. It's like puppets where you see the strings and how that can take you out of the experience, out of the adventure. This game has several different collectibles, presumably for, replay value and all that kind of stuff. I really wish games, and some of this is on the community as well, I really wish we could all get over this fucking replay value thing. Because, first of all, to me, replay value is a game being good enough that I want to play it again. Silent Hill 2 is a game that, to me, has a ton of replay value because I want to experience that story again. That's replay value to me. Replay value to me isn't, let's hide a bunch of collectible shit in the world and take the player out of the experience by reminding them this is a video game. Here's an assortment of 5 arbitrary objects to pick up, you know? So I solve this puzzle and naturally I forget to stand on the fucking block. I'm supposed to stand on that block and do it, but I wasn't fucking thinking. Which is just par for the fucking course, isn't it? Anyway, why this is an issue with RiME, the collectible thing, is that one thing this game does exceptionally well is level design. The way it guides the player using subtle clues, the same way Valve does it with lights in Left 4 Dead and Half-Life. And if you've listened to the this week's Podquisition, you will have heard me bring up some of this stuff. I was talking to Gavin about it, because Gavin's played a bit of RiME as well. And RiME does such a good job of letting you know where to go next, using the environment, not signposting anything, really. It lets you work it out for yourself, but not in that sort of it doesn't hold your hand way that people use to justify games just being fucking obtuse. It's very elegant. When you go from one locale to another, it is done in such a well-executed fashion in terms of how the music and the camera and the pathways all work together to make you feel like you are progressing on a journey from one particular point to another, stopping that journey to backtrack and look for fucking little toy windmills and shit, or conch shells or whatever. That's when I stop feeling like I'm in the game's world and that I'm in, you know, my world playing a video game. Because now, rather than pressing forth and enjoying the scenery, there's a little part in, you know, a little voice in your head just saying, do you really want to press forth? Because you've probably missed some shit. And I don't want to feel like I'm missing some shit when I want to enjoy it. Because I feel like, even though this has puzzles and everything like this, and even though it's very clearly inspired by Team Ico and those games, Journey would be another game I could use to describe this one when it's really hitting its stride in terms of progression. Journey with more interactivity. I feel like I'm going from this starting destination to an ultimate conclusion. And Journey did that quite well. There were many moments in Journey where you were just going from, you know, one linear point to another. You know, very linear, but it was still fantastic to experience because of that camera work, the way the music built up into it, the way the levels looked and expanded and flowed as you moved through them. And RiME does that fantastically. But like I said, undermined a little bit by the fact that they clearly thought to themselves, oh shit, it's a video game. We don't want people to think we're a walking simulator. Let's put some collectibles in. But other than that, the way the levels are designed, I think, are fantastic. The controls of the character, another thing that sort of holds that back, you know, the whole not quite connecting with ledges and things that the character should be able to interact with, can be a bit of a pain in the jacksy. I don't know why I felt like saying jacksy. I don't know why I felt like saying jacksy at all. I never say jacksy. I think that's actually the first time I may have actually said jacksy out of my mouth. It's like one of those words you hear a lot, but don't actually say. For many years, bespoke was one of those. But I have said bespoke a fair few times. Twice just now, you know. Bespoke, I'll do it again. So this is a little further into the game. This is once you leave the starting area, and the game starts to expand and show a little bit more of what it can do. So we haven't really encountered any real enemies or anything like that up to this point. So this is the first time we see an actual antagonistic force in the game, as far as I can remember. There are pigs in the starting area, like little wild pigs, boar-looking things. You know, the big ones can get a bit testy, but this is the first time there's been this real pursuing enemy force. And this leads to an environment that's quite different from the first environment, which, again, if they keep that up, world variety is something else this game does quite well. So, as you can see, the red stuff coming in from the sides, I don't know really how to describe it, the red coloration, whatever, indicates the bird, for lack of a better word, the bird's proximity and its inevitable capture of you. Failure in this game is one of those slap on the wrist situations. You know, the bird will catch you, you'll respawn a little bit back. It can be annoying though, you don't want it to happen, but it's not like, you know these sorts of games, they're not going to toss you too far back. But we are kind of wrapping up. I'm still going to spend some time with RiME. Like, I'm juggling a lot now. I've got RiME on the go. Locke's Quest quietly came out this week. That was one of my favourite DS games ever, and that's out on PC and console now. The PC version's getting mixed reviews. Doesn't seem like the port job's pleasing a lot of people, but I'll take a look at the game. Hopefully the transition to a larger screen isn't all bad, because like I said, I loved that game when it was on the DS, and I was pleased that it was getting a second chance. And there is Friday the 13th, of course, which I'll get back round to it. And I didn't think I'd say that about a game with Jason Voorhees in it, but I'll get back round to it. After the launch and the amount of my time that got wasted with matchmaking, I'm not inclined to waste more time until, I get other work done first. And some of that work involves RiME. Getting RiME finished and reviewed up for thejimquisition.com. So I'm going to stop chatting, because as I say, we are nearly at the end. But that's what happens when the bird picks you up, if you are interested.